Hello.
How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Oh, fantastics.
What are we talking like this for?
I don't know, but it
Well,
sure is
I didn't.
fun.
What's reminds me of Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh, you know.
How do you know you're the king? The lady of the lake. Well, I didn't vote for you.
You don't vote for king.
Oh, I thought we were an
Listen,
autonomous collective.
listen. Strange women lying in ponds, distributing swords is no basis for a system of government.
It's true.
Yes. All right. Anyway, hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. We're here, and it's Wednesday, and so you're not allowed to worry right now.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
If you're worrying, we'll get you.
Stop it.
With a don't worry.
Yes, we will get you with a don't worry. Yes, this is a show that's all about you guys, your guys' topics, everything. What? I sound like Wallace. I don't know who Wallace is. Or is it Wednesday? Some of you it might be
Wallace
Thursday.
That's right. Actually, for quite a few of you here, it is Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so welcome on this lovely Thursday to Don't Worry Wednesday. This is a show we do on our Wednesday that sometimes is your Thursday. Yeah, August, you said it right. Just stop worrying. It's not going to do you any good, so stop it. It'll be good.
Yeah.
But yes, we are not therapists. We're not counselors. We're not anything of that sort. We're not professional. We're not a substitute for professional counseling. But we do want to help in any way we can. Whatever it is that you're struggling with, or even if you just have a fun topic you want us to go over, you can submit it at don'tworrywednesday.com. Click the submit a topic button and fill out the form and make sure that you attest that you are a human. We have run into that a handful of times because we put that little checkbox in there that like, maybe I'm a human. And it's fun, right? But the thing is, if you don't click yes, it says, oh, this is a bot. So yeah. The correct answer.
We don't have an inbox for the bot stuff. It's discarded automatically.
Right. It totally does.
Save resources.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, just go there to don'tworrywednesday.com, click submit a topic, fill it out, and we would be happy to do your topic. We love you guys, and that's why we do this show. We love hanging out with you guys on Wednesdays.
What are you saying? Ash. You can do that. You can do that.
Yep, you totally can. As long as you check the I'm a human box.
And you can select the I'm a human box and then say I'm a bot. Yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
It won't. It won't automatically discard it for you.
At least we hope not. I guess you never know. I mean, it's the whole form is set up with Microsoft, so you never know, right?
Sure. Who knows what they'll do?
Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what update's going to come and mess with stuff? But anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. It's such a great joy to see you in the chat and to hang out with you guys and to see all your fine comments and words of encouragement. Because that's what we're here to do. You know, if you're going through something and you want us to talk about it, the main thing we want to do is love you. We want to encourage you. We want to, provide any kind of perspective we possibly can, because we've been through some stuff, and, a lot of times it helps to get an outside perspective, someone who's not in the middle of stuff. I've been in the middle of stuff many, many times, and I've been there enough to realize that when I'm in the middle of it, I don't always see the whole picture. I mainly see my emotional energy. And it's tough to sort through things sometimes when all I can do is deal with whatever emotion I'm dealing with regard to the situation. So yeah, we just want to help you guys feel loved and encouraged. A lot of times we will recommend that you seek therapy or counseling or something of that sort, because sometimes a professional can really, really help you to get stuff figured out, because they are trained in knowing how psychology is, knowing how our minds work, and all that kind of stuff. So they can provide a way better roadmap sometimes. But it's also good while you're going through that with a therapist to have friends and to have outside people that you can talk to. And we want to fill that gap as best we can in this short period of time we have once a week to talk with you guys, because it's important. You guys are important. We love you guys, and we're just so thankful that you're here. So you guys
Well said,
look
Joe.
great in the chat.
Yeah, look at all you guys.
So good.
Looking great.
Man, oh man. So how you guys doing? You know, put a dab in the chat or something. You know, do something.
I'm gonna put a sneeze emoji in the chat instead.
You can do that. It's actually elbow cough, I think.
There you go. This is not a dab. That is not me dabbing. That is me coughing into my elbow. Thank you.
That is, Ryan, I'm so sorry. That is a dab.
No, Joe, the one that you just did is clearly a dab. The one I did is me coughing the elbow because I'm slightly sick.
Oh, well, dang it. Oh, well. It happens to the best of us. And we know now because Ryan is the best of us. And so...
Oh, wow. I didn't know
it
that.
happened to him...
It can happen to everybody. That's right.
Yep. Happens to the best of us.
That sounds like science.
Yes, apparently we need to start over because Nyansai is here.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Take it from round zero.
Welcome, everybody, to Don't Worry Wednesday. It's a show we do on Wednesdays because we love you. Go to don'tworrywednesday.com.
Flashbacks.
I just started it over. I sent it to the starting screen and then back to this because, you know.
Did you really?
We had to do the legit start over, right?
Did you actually send it to the starting screen?
I did.
That's awesome. Thanks. I love that.
I figured you might enjoy that. Cough into your nose elbow dab. You know what? I tell you what. I would recommend not trying to cough into your nose.
Yeah, that feels weird. Don't do it.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, that one's bizarre. For
and
sure.
Try not to sneeze into your mouth. Like...
I don't know how you can even perform that activity, but I really hope no one does. Gross, Joe. What are you doing?
Sneezing in my mouth, man. Try to do it. This is science.
Welcome to the Science Channel. Don't
cough in your
Saturday. Nose. You made it to the wrong day. What are you doing here? Science Saturday. These are the things that we talk about, science facts that you don't do, like sneeze into your mouth or cough into your nose.
Do not do that. Yes, you are welcome for that wonderful insight. I'm happy to provide such grand wisdom.
From the Book of Joe?
From the Book of Joe. Yep.
Grand wisdom from the Book of Joe.
Grand wisdom from the Book of Joe. Oh, Hatsu, you're amazing. Thank you so much. We got to hang out and play some Fortnite. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I missed it, but it sounded like
you had a good time. You missed it. You were sleeping, I bet. It was that time of day. Sleeping. It was that time of day. I was like, I'm telling you what. He's like, Ryan isn't answering. I'm like, yeah, well, it's probably because he's sleeping.
I was sleeping.
There's a certain time, like you never know when Ryan might be awake or asleep, but there's a certain time of the day when you can pretty much count on Ryan sleeping.
That's
lunchtime.
Yeah, it's lunchtime. Unless for some reason I wake up that day at 8 o'clock a.m. and then I do the day like like I'm a normal human being, and that happens sometimes too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hmm.
You know, we played this. Hatsu, you're awesome. We played this map where you just basically, it was a weird game. It wasn't a battle royale. It was just you had to climb up this mountain, and you just had to
Mm.
make it to the top of the mountain. But at the
Mm.
top of the mountain was a giant Dwayne the Rock Johnson head with his mouth open, like ah. And he was like puking cars and trucks and boats at us while we're trying to climb up the mountain. Like all these cars and trucks and boats. And the boats were the worst because like they just zip down, you know?
Ah,
It was really difficult. But yeah,
that
it was a
sounds
lot of fun.
fun. That sounds fun.
It was a good time. But anyway,
Mm.
Saule, welcome. It's all right. We were late too. We were a few minutes late. But that's all
Hmm.
right. You know, we got it all figured out. We're here. So it's awesome. So yes, welcome everybody again. We're so glad you're here. And how are you guys doing? How are you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing.
You're frozen.
I'm doing great, man. Doing fantastic. No, I'm doing very good. Doing great. Thanks. How you doing?
Oh, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I've had my brain in mixing music all day today, working on our release
Yeah.
coming out next Friday. This Friday we
Mm.
have a new album coming out from Static P.
Oh,
Yeah, you
cool.
were surprised by that, weren't you?
I was. I didn't know that.
You're like,
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah. Ah,
All
yeah,
this
yeah,
stuff
wow.
happens at BSS and Ryan doesn't even know it. Like all of a
Nah, I don't.
sudden,
I'm
hey
not paying
Ryan,
attention.
you got something coming out this Friday. Oh, I do?
Cool.
Yeah. Sweet.
Cool.
Yep.
Put it up.
It's gonna be good. It's actually this album is gonna be fun. This is the all of the instrumental versions of the Criminal Idol series. So if you
That's
want to
funny.
sing along without hearing Ryan's lovely angelic voice, and you want to hear your own lovely angelic voice singing, then you can listen to those and sing along, and it's awesome. But yeah, it's been a busy time at
Hmm.
BSS, man. A lot of stuff happening, a lot of new music coming out, new artists coming out. We've got
Hmm.
it's just incredible.
I will.
Legal
I do have to say,
challenges.
listening to lyric forms of my music is kind of fun because there's a lot of little nuances that are hard to pick up on when you're hearing the lyrics, listening to the lyrics.
Hmm.
I find that to be true with some certain musicians. Is like you listen to their stuff and you take away the lyrics, and all of a sudden the song opens up a whole new world to you, and you're like, I didn't ever hear that part before. That's in there.
Hmm.
That's cool. And then when you
Hmm.
listen to the song later, you can start to hear those things. It's fun.
Yes. Yes, it's glorious. I always have a good time listening to instrumentals. And just for
Mm-hmm.
that exact reason there, you can pick out all these things in the background that the lyrics cover up, but you feel it
Mm-hmm.
when you listen to the song with lyrics. You just don't really
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to it, but it's getting in your subconscious. But then when the lyrics are gone, all these things kind of come to the forefront, and it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yes, so yeah, that's Ryan up above me. He's an awesome guy. I'm Joe. I'm the angry guy. So
Is that the new title? All right.
yep, I'm the angry person.
I'm the awesome one. Oh, I'm the angry one.
Uh, so
And together we're Don't Worry Wednesday. Do we need a theme song? We already have one, I guess.
We got
We've
two
got
theme songs.
C Pearl and Be That.
Yep. And those are available on Spotify as well to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you're excited to hear the single dual album with lyrics? We're actually putting out one and not okay, so not this Friday, not next Friday, but the Friday coming after that is a single from one of those, from that album, from the instrumental album. And it has lyrics now. And I got to sing them. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. Nice.
I'm the peaceful monk of the stream lore. Oh, you're so
That's
nice.
great.
But no, I'm the angry one. Especially throw a relationship topic up here, you're gonna see it.
Can you not be angry and peaceful at the same time?
Can you not be?
I mean,
of course you cannot. You cannot be angry and peaceful at the same time. I think you can also be angry and peaceful at the same time. Both.
Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah, they're two separate things.
Yeah.
Can you be at peace in your anger?
Mm-hmm. Can you be at peace in your anger, or can't you be at peace in your anger? Like isn't that a thing you can do? And the answer is yeah, that's a thing you can do. Rather than can you not be, meaning can you be not? It means isn't that a thing you can do?
Isn't that
as
a
opposed
thing?
to
Isn't that a thing?
Isn't that a thing you can choose not to do? Anyways, English is weird.
It is. It is certainly
it's a Frankenstein of a language.
Yep. Frankenberries. All right, cool. So, all right. So we've got some topics. What do you say we jump into?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Whoa, what? I'm the one who said I was walking down the street and looked at a guy walking on the sidewalk and just thought, I can kill him with my hands. Yes, I have said that before, and it's true. I know how. I don't think I would ever do that. You know, like that was one of the things I took Krav Maga, which is an Israeli self-defense martial art, right?
Oh yeah.
And they teach you all these things that are like the whole idea is to end a conflict as quickly as possible by inflicting as much pain as possible in as little time as possible to get you out of there. And they also teach you, you know, different moves that can indeed kill somebody. But they're like, okay, do not use this if you kill somebody. There are lots of things you're going to have to deal with. That's not an easy path. So don't take that path if you can help it. But anyway, yeah. So as I mentioned, I'm the angry one. Here we are talking about killing people with my bare hands and stuff. So
wow. Yeah, maybe you're the angry one.
Yeah.
That's all right.
All right. Well, we got some topics here, and we've got people here with these topics.
Oh, do we?
This new one, are they here? Do you know?
Yeah.
Or is that anonymous?
They're here.
Am I a human maybe?
What?
Yeah, am I a human maybe?
Here, so we can do that one. Yeah.
Well, which one do you want to do?
Well, I just want to do. Joe, I just want to do whatever you want to do.
Oh, I have a message from my teeth. It's a secret.
Yep. What are they saying? They're like, here's my message to you. Flavor is chicken.
That would be from my tongue.
Is chicken. That's a message from your teeth when your tongue picks out a piece of chicken from between your teeth.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we can do that one next. That would be good. So, all right. So, first of all, we have some we have anonymous topics, and we sure also do. I think here we have a topic from Hatsu, we have a topic from Saule, and this one from Am I a Human Maybe?
That's right. Am I a human? Maybe. I would go. I don't know. Maybe Saule's.
Sure. Saule.
I mean,
your topic is called confidence and uncertainty. Do you remember this? I remember that. And yes, you are here. All right. Yeah, we'll start with your topic. It's called confidence and uncertainty.
I
Let
are
me
here.
I will get it up here. Oh, now you sort of do recall that. Good. I'm glad. So yes, I will get this topic up on the screen here so you guys can read it while I read it aloud. So,
Ooh.
Ryan, how's it going?
Hey, buddy. Just trying to fix my keyboard.
Oh.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
I'm listening.
Fix
Is that
your
all
fix
right?
your fix your keyboard, man.
Is that okay? Thanks. I'm going to try.
Don't forget to fix
I'm
your keyboard.
fixing it.
But
I'm fixing it. Is that all right?
yeah,
Is
yeah.
that all right with you?
Yeah, fix it.
Yeah.
Make sure it gets
Am-
fixed though.
yeah. I'm here though. Like I'm fine. I'm good.
All
Hi.
right. I was like,
I love you.
what are you looking at? Do you have food? Like, I'm hungry.
No.
Like,
Yeah, I technically have food. Do you want some? Here you go.
oh,
Hold
you
on,
got
just give me a
food.
minute. Here's a piece of popcorn. Here you go.
Oh, you just picked that up
No.
off the floor?
Say,
Ah.
yeah.
I
You,
love the floor in your
I
office,
love
man.
for popcorn. Yeah, I know, right? So full of fur and hair. It's great.
Yes,
Who
it's
wouldn't want
perfect.
a piece of Ryan hair in their mouth?
I know. I mean, you'd be like,
It's
it's
it
like
gives you a chance to
10
play with
feet
your
long,
food.
man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, this is a weird question. You ever had like you ever like eating something and you find a hair in your food, but it's already halfway down your throat
Yeah.
and you don't know, and you're pulling
Yeah.
it out and you're just like, oh, that feels weird.
Yeah. I have been there before. It's wild.
It's wild.
Yes. And Saule says, clean up or you'll get mice and ants. And that's true. And if you're Ryan, you
It's
cannot
not on my
kill the
floor, by the
mice
way.
or
It's
the
on the floor.
ants unless you're going to eat them.
My
Oh.
mom came by and dropped popcorn off by my desk, so I just said, yeah.
Jealous. So jealous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but by the time the show ends, it's gonna be cold
Not if you eat it.
and hopefully not stale. I'm not gonna eat it.
Yeah, you can eat it.
Oh, okay.
Eat while you're talking. It'll be great. Talk with your mouth full.
I recommend you do. Eat some popcorn.
It'll be
All
great.
right.
All right,
Eat
cool.
it.
Well, now I'm going to put this topic up on the screen. This is called Confidence and Uncertainty
man.
from Saule. And here it is on the screen for you guys. And it reads as follows. Confusing feelings from the working world. When the world starts moving and you call to the front line, when your skills are in demand, but you see what's in your hand, power and time. Lives in the balance. The production floor has halted, and they all point to you to fix the problem you didn't cause. Or declare it all a false alarm, danger to life, or months of delays don't let them weigh to find the truth, the fog of war, the air of hazard to decide the danger, the lives of those hands-on to write the paper, to say it was all wrong, to sign your right, to assign your name. If it all comes down, then you're to blame. Do you have the confidence? Is it all the same? Hold the wind. Life and time. SP. Wow. You have put this in such poetic form. I love it. So yeah, but confusing feelings when we get into the working world. All kinds of stuff happens. You got all kinds of things coming your way. You know, a lot of times, we'll go to school, we'll get trained and educated, and we get that degree, and it's a doorway to a certain handful of jobs or an industry or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you qualify to then go work at these jobs. But then you get one of those jobs and they say, yeah, all that stuff you learned in college, well, you're probably going to use about like this much of it, and then the rest of it we're going to train you while you're here. It's interesting because I actually asked a person, an HR person about that. And, well, no, it was the company president of the music store that I used to work at. I asked him about
Mm-hmm.
degrees, and I asked him. Now he didn't really hire people with degrees much, but he was in the Chamber of Commerce. He was in all kinds of stuff, so he knew what people were looking for. And a lot of times, sometimes people will say, "Hey, I want you to have a bachelor's degree," because they just want to know that, are you going to finish something that you started? Because that can mean a lot to an employer, to just know that somebody went through something and they finished, so that qualifies them to get that job. Now, once you get there, it's like a whole new wild world in front of you, because you start doing the job, and all of a sudden you're responsible for things, and you gotta, depending on what you're doing, you might have to fix stuff, you might have to help other people with stuff. There's all kinds of jobs out there. But
Mm-hmm.
then, yeah, I love this. When you're to blame, then you're to blame. Do you have the confidence? When something's your fault, can you still have confidence? And sometimes you just got to own it, and you just got to be like, yep, I did it, and I'm sorry. It was my mistake. I made a boo boo. But it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't change who you are. Everybody makes mistakes, and some mistakes are more costly than others, I suppose. But yeah, confidence and uncertainty. I like this, and I think there's a lot of directions we can take. And I'm looking forward to hearing the direction that Ryan takes with this. So I'm going to go ahead
Me
and turn
too.
it over to him. Yeah, you're excited for that?
Trying. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I will say. At first, I want to say, um, Saleh, if you could, write in the chat if you have any sort of. I mean, it's been a little while since you posted this. If you remember posting it, anything you want to add, anything you want us to talk about in specifically, or anything you want to say, as in how you've dealt with maybe some of these issues, that'd be
Mm-hmm.
awesome. You said, I am surprised at just how much of my engineering degree I'm using at my current job. This poem topic thing was after the first big challenge I was given. Mm,
Mm-hmm.
fair enough. Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know. I mean, there's so many jobs out there, but all of them require a degree of. Uh, I mean, all of them should require a high degree of responsibility. And a lot
Mm,
of what this poem is saying to me is just the nature or the processing of high responsibility. Um, Responsibility is something hard, especially when it's not something that we chose for ourselves, but it's given to us. It's like, hey, we have to make money to live, and then all of a sudden, these people are pointing fingers at us and be like, you have to take responsibility for this, and this, and it's
mm-hmm.
like, whoa, all I was here was I was trying to make a living, or I was trying to apply myself. I was trying to apply myself to make something cool in my engineering, or do something good with it, um, regardless of the whatever it was. And then all of a sudden, now we find ourselves no longer just being able to give. Um, we find ourselves responsible, and the weight of responsibility can sort of trash our good intentions sometimes. Um,
Mm,
when we really want to do something good, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, you have to do it. It's just like, well, if I have to do it, it doesn't feel like a choice. It doesn't feel like I'm the one choosing to do something good. You're basically saying it's like my fault if I mess up.
mm,
It's etc. And it takes away that feeling of like that good naturedness. And that sucks. Um I really don't care for that. But at the same time, I recognize that that's sort of a must. It's not something that we can just avoid. Because when you get involved of doing anything, people begin to rely on you. And that reliance, of course, turns into a responsibility. Um, Whether it should or shouldn't, it just seems to do that. And I think that hopefully we can own up to that responsibility, and instead of feeling condemned by it, we can feel honored that we have it. And it's a different approach, right? It's a different a way of perceiving it mentally is, hey, this isn't, you know, sure, now all of a sudden what I wanted to do is like what I have to do, and that's not fun. But at the same time, having all this responsibility means that there are a lot of lives in my care. When it comes to engineering, maybe you're engineering or a safeguard to something, you're designing a car or whatever it is. Suddenly it really matters the time and effort you put into it to keep people safe. Um, not to cause danger to people. And yeah, there's a lot of responsibility there. But that responsibility means that you're actually serving a lot of people, you know? Um, so yeah, it's like scary because it's like if I make a mistake, I might cost someone's life. That's scary. But at the same time, it does also mean that there's a lot of people putting hands in their life in your hands, because they, one, trust, and two, their lives are bettered by it. With cars, I mean, just as to continue that example, and Sal, I'm using that because I know you love cars. We drive our cars around, and it gives us so much freedom. It gives us so much ability to go where we want, when we want, and to go across the entire country, and all of these things. And it's like, that's so cool. And those are things that provide great experiences to us. Those are things that provide um, a connection to our families. Those are things that provide so many goods. Cars provide so many goods to us. But that's cars demand a great amount of responsibility and respect, not just in the driver's hands, but in the engineers. And so it makes a lot of sense that there would be a great demand for responsibility, and that people would get on you for it. When when you make when you make a mistake on the line, on the engineering line or whatever, and people come at you yelling at you, well, to some degree, it's the appropriate response, because there are possibly people's lives in your hands, right? Um, and of course, I don't really think that yelling at people is a good idea. And generally, they're yelling at you just because they're getting their emotions out about how they didn't like something, which is not good. And that's not appropriate. But my point is, there should be a certain degree of like, oh, this is serious, you know. And so it's kind of okay for people to get serious. Maybe not to yell or thrash out at you or whatever, but to get serious, I think that's good. Um, so yeah, there's a lot to be responsible for. So it's an honor and a blessing. It's like if you control the kingdom, that's like an incredible amount of responsibility. And there have been many kings who have thrown that responsibility away and have done terrible things. And there's also have been very good kings who have taken that responsibility up, owned it, made it, dedicated their lives to it, and created incredible places for people to live. And we live in extensions of those places. It's amazing because if you look over the many, 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 many years, it seems that, the world is like an evil place. But at the same time, it only took a few good kings to get what we have now. It only took a few good kings to get us move in the right direction, and that just continues for the next several kings that aren't even good. It just continues throughout them, despite all the stupidness that they're doing, and then it start to turn into ruin and nations fall, but then eventually another good king comes around, and then all of a sudden we got prosperity and goodness within the nation again. And then
Mm-hmm.
that continues down the line, and it's incredible. It's incredible that that's the case. And so, if we own our responsibilities, if we decide that it's worth fighting for, whatever it is, whether it's an engineering job, whether it's a food job, whether it's a politician or you work the line in a factory, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can excel and you can do an incredible amount of good. And that good, if you take responsibility for it, it's demanding and it's hard and it's scary, but it does generate an incredible amount of good in the world. And so that's, anyone would say that that was worth it. At the end of their life, they would look back and be like, yeah, no, I don't regret that at all. That was a very good thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, so anyhow, yeah, you continued on saying things get interesting when you have as your first thing a discretion, no, a decision
Decision.
about a damaged wire rope that holds 50 tons of stuff over 50 people's heads. Oh my gosh,
Oof.
yeah. Replace it when it's okay and there's 6 months of unnecessary delays. But if you say it's okay and it's not, oh my gosh, yeah, that's pretty terrifying. And so that's exactly. All of a sudden, intense responsibilities placed in your hands, and like these are people's lives. And it's just like, whoa, like I was just thrown in here. I just started. What's with what?
Mm-hmm.
You're putting this in my hands, and it's incredibly scary, but it's also a great honor. But you really don't want it to go wrong, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's because if it does, it's horrible. It feels terrible. So yeah, that's fair. Um, so anyways, yeah, months of delays, don't let them weigh. I can see the how the poem is sort of what um speaking about your situation in a real way. Hey, Science Rocks! Oh my gosh, it's been forever. I hope you're doing awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean that was rather short, perhaps for me, but that's about all I've got for now. I'm gonna give it over to Joe and see what he's got about this.
Oh, good. I was just waiting for you to tell me that you were going to give it over to me. Um,
True.
Yansai says in the chat, if people get smushed, there will be more delays.
Yeah,
Truth.
very unfortunately true.
There'll be lots of delays, and that's probably the least of people's worries.
The delays
You
at that
know,
point will be like secondary,
delays.
hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Saule, thank you again for this topic.
Hmm.
You know, it's interesting. So, um, I'm wondering if is there any kind of a question that's jumping out at you in this? Is it just kind of how to handle this responsibility and how to be confident in in the face of all this responsibility? Because sometimes, we just get thrown into situations and we do our best. We don't really
Hmm.
know, especially the first
Yeah.
time we got to, tackle a certain issue. The first time we
Oh
got to
yeah.
do that certain equation, that certain job. Okay, how to handle high responsibility and keep composure. Yes.
Hmm.
What you are in for right now, Saule, is you're in for an opportunity for growth because this isn't an easy task to, keep your composure while handling the stress of all this responsibility and thinking of the terms of the ramifications of what if something goes wrong? What if, I mess up and people get hurt, or like in this case, this example that you said, when it's a damaged wire rope and it's holding 50 tons of stuff over 50 people. That's 100,000 pounds. I don't know what that is in kilograms for those of you who use the metric system, and I'm not gonna Google it right now. Um, but
That's
but
okay.
it's heavy. It's a lot. That would definitely kill people if it fell on them. Absolutely. There's no question, right? Because
No question.
they would be flattened. So yeah, like Ryan was talking about, you have people's lives that are in your hands. And you know that, but that's one of the aspects of your job, is the decisions you make affect those people. And you know, really, depending, most jobs, okay, about 45 kilograms. Really? Seems like it'd be more than that. But oh,
There
45,000
you go.
kilograms. All right.
That makes more sense.
I was like, anyway, cool. So how do you keep your composure when you're dealing with that? Well, one of the best ways is to, yeah, don't forget the 3 zeros if you're doing an equation for work. I would double
Mhm.
check my math frequently if I was responsible for the stuff you're responsible for. But how do you keep your composure? One of the best ways is to experience the situation and to continue experiencing the situation. And you put yourself in it. And the first time you're in it, it's really, really uncomfortable. It's really, really uncomfortable. And you might kind of start to freak out. And inside, you might be jumping all around. You might look cool as a cucumber, you know, on the outside, but inside, you know, like your brain's going 100,000 miles per second and your heart's pounding and you know, you can be crazy. I can remember when I was doing inspections. Now, this was this profession that I had. It didn't really, the situation that people were involved in affected them greatly. But my part to play in the whole thing wasn't affecting people all that much, except they would get really mad when I showed up because it would remind them of the situation that they were in that was really stressful. And it was just an unfortunate part of the job. And so constantly, I'm, you know, in front of people that are really angry and they're yelling at me and they're asking a whole bunch of questions really loudly that I have no answer to. And I can remember just sitting there taking this barrage of insults and, you know, like threats and, you know, all kinds of stuff. Like one guy brought out a gun, one guy brought out a baseball bat, one guy had an axe, you know, and you're like, oh my gosh, like what in the world is going to happen here? But you know, you get more and more comfortable and you can keep your composure more and more the more you handle that situation. And so the
Mhm.
more you expose yourself to situations like that, where it's stressful, you're responsible for something, and a lot of people's lives are affected, and you got to be right. You got to be on top of things, right? The best way is to experience it again and again and again, and then it gets more and more comfortable. And it's interesting because anytime something's new, it tests our comfort zone. We have this little comfort zone. All the things that we've experienced, all the things that we know, all the things that, you know, we think, you know, these are part of my life. And, you know, so I handle them. They're comfortable to me, right? When we push the edges of that comfort zone, we get a little freaked out sometimes. Depending on how far outside that comfort zone we go, we can, you know, really be in a pickle sometimes mentally where we're just like freaking out. One of the best things, I think, if you in other areas of your life, if you pursue discomfort, if you actually go and look for situations that are going to make you uncomfortable, or like Ryan talks about, embrace the awkward. You know, those moments where you feel awkward, you feel kind of like freaked out a little bit, but there you are, and you're handling the situation, right? The more you push the edges of your comfort zone, the more comfortable you get being uncomfortable. Does that make sense? So the more you put yourself in situations, now it doesn't have to be, you know, as drastic or as, you know, big of a deal as some of the things you're responsible for. Like where people could really get hurt or get killed if by a mistake that you make, that can weigh heavily on you. But if in other areas of your life you can find things that make you uncomfortable and then do those things, what happens is you start to be able to navigate that feeling of discomfort, that little bit of excitement with some fear, with some anxiety, with kind of this high tension, feeling that you get in those situations. The more you experience that, the more comfortable it feels. And the more clearly you'll be able to think through those situations, keep your composure, and move forward. It's pretty funny. I remember oh, good. I'm glad you answered my rhetorical question. Neonsai says, your body and mind will almost always want to be comfy and save energy. So forcing yourself to be uncomfortable is a valuable lesson and skill. Absolutely. You're so right. Now, it's funny because I remember recently for Christmas, a friend of mine got me some coaching in Overwatch because I like playing Overwatch. It's my favorite game, and so I play from time to time, and and he knew it, and he was kind of the one who got me into it, and so he's like, "Hey, I got you like an hour-long coaching session with this guy. He's a top 500 player." And I was like, "Sweet, I can actually learn how to play my part." It's funny because the coach asked me, "Why did you pick Lucio?" Lucio's the person that that I play the most because he's the most fun. And I was like, I don't know, he's just fun, man. You can wall ride all over the place. He's really fast, and he can zip around, and he's slippery, and he's really fun to play. And the guy said, "Okay, that's cool. But you do know that he's one of the hardest to master and to contribute to your team well, right? Like the learning curve for this character is really high. Now you can pick up the basics of the character, pretty easily. You learn how the controls work and everything, and he's pretty easy to control. But he said for you to be an effective Lucio, that learning curve is really steep. So there's a lot of stuff to think about. There's a lot of stuff to, handle while you're doing this." And he's like, "So why don't you get into a match and share your screen, and I'll just watch you in the match and hear how you do." And so I played the match, and and I was feeling kind of tense, and I was like, this guy's watching me. He's probably taking notes on all the things I'm doing wrong, and he's gonna be mad at me for doing this, and and these things are all going on in my head. But I'm just really just playing the game and, having a good time and whatnot with all this stuff in my head going on in the background. And we got to the end of the match, and he said, "Man, you really keep your composure well. Like, I coach people that, they'll freak out when something bad happens, and or when they miss a shot or somebody kills them or whatever, and they got to go back to the respawn and whatever. He's like, people like just totally lose their cookies." And he used a different word than cookies, but you get the idea. That they'll just lose their mind and freak out. And he's like, "I'm impressed with how, calm and collected you are." And I was like, "Well, tell you what, man, I just went through a really, really messy divorce with a very highly contentious custody battle and everything like that. So here I am in this video game. It's not that big a deal because I had this other stuff happen in my life that was a big deal and was really hard and, really stressful and stuff like that." And he's like, "Oh, well, that makes sense." And now the reason I tell you that story isn't to, shed light on me or anything, but it's just the illustration of the more that you can handle difficult things and uncomfortable things and, all kinds of stuff that kind of shakes you off balance, and, maybe the rug gets pulled out from under you and you just stand there, or you feel like you just took a cheap shot to the face and you're kind of standing there with a bloody nose and you're wondering what happened. The more, and I'm not saying go out and pick fights, I'm not saying that, but the more you handle those difficult situations and those uncomfortable times, the better you're going to be able to handle all uncomfortable times that come your way. And it's weird, like almost the more difficult the situation, the more maturity you're going to have in any type of uncomfortable situation. You'll be able to keep your composure. You'll be able to be like, okay, well, what's important? What's not important? Because sometimes people get all caught up in this one little detail that's not important at all, but it's a big deal to them. And so sometimes we just have to listen and nod and understand, okay, this is where this person's at, and that's okay. I've been there before myself. But the more you can make yourself uncomfortable, the better you're going to do. And so it won't be long, I promise. And decisions like this, you spend 6 months at this job, and a lot of that stuff is going to feel like you're just skating on top of it. You're not going to feel in the middle of it. You're not going to have a big emotional response. You'll just handle it, and you'll double check it. You'll realize how important it is. You'll realize the gravity of the situation, and you'll just handle it, and you'll be fine. But then there are those times when inside you're going crazy. Everything inside you is screaming at you. But you still got to sit there and be quiet. You still got to sit there and maintain composure. It was interesting going to court. I've been to court a handful of times, sometimes just to support friends going through stuff, and recently for my own divorce case and all that kind of stuff. And I remember I go in there, and there was this couple in there in front of the judge before it was my turn. And they did not have attorneys, and they were just in there battling in front of a judge. And they were just losing it, like losing their minds, yelling at each other. Da, da, da. The judge was just like, the judge is probably just like, well, I handle this all the time. This is no big deal. I'm watching people freak out at each other. But the judge, she was really good at bringing people back around to the point and saying, okay, da, 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 da. Because she's experienced this situation a lot of times, and she's outside of the emotion. These people, they didn't really know how the legal system worked, and they're mad at each other, and this whole situation is stressful, and it was just freaking them out. And you could tell that they were freaking out. And then I get up there, and I was really, really glad I had my attorney. And she just said, okay, you just need to sit there. If the judge asks you a question, answer it. But mostly you're just going to sit there and listen. And you're going to answer the word yes or no. But you can say yes, Your Honor, no, Your Honor, whatever, right? And just, other than that, just be quiet. And that was kind of hard. Because inside I'm screaming. Inside, I'm like, this is not fair. This is going on. What the heck? Blah, 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 blah. I wanted to be like that couple that went in before me. But I followed my attorney's advice, and I just sat there burning up inside. And I'm just like, fidgeting with a pen, But I don't know. Those just illustrate this point. That the more you handle difficult situations, the more you handle stressful situations, the better you're going to be at it, and the more calm you're going to be. And before you know it, people are going to come to you, and they're going to be like, wow, how is it that you maintain your composure with this type of decision looming over you? And you'll be able to answer them, however, whatever context you have to share. You might be able to tell them a story about a stressful situation you went through, and it might inspire them to, handle other things in their lives better. And you never know. So anyway, I hope some of that made sense. Saule, you have emotions are annoying a lot of the time for me because they often get in the way of logic. Logic is scary because you can't hide behind untruths. This is true. Logic is scary. Now, there are proper things to do logically, and there are also proper things to do while considering emotion. Because sometimes the logical answer, the logical right thing to do, based on the world and the universe and whatever, that logical correct thing might be the wrong thing to do at that time because of the repercussions of people's emotions. And so some of these things need to be thought about, as we look at something purely logical that's valuable, because you can look at the ideal situation. Logically, this makes sense. It lines up. This is real. This is the way it should be. However, I also have to consider the people involved. If I make this decision, if I do the right thing, and this person that's involved freaks out and does a whole bunch of damaging things to the people around them, then doing that logical thing may not be the most prudent. Right? So these are all things to consider as you're looking at stuff. Now, I don't want to freak you out any more than you already are. But as you go through these, you'll learn to navigate them better and better. So, Saule, you are awesome, and you're smart, and you will be able to figure a lot of this stuff out. I'm sure of it. And you can feel free to DM me if there's any thing specific that you want to go over with any of this stuff too. But anyway, that's kind of what I got. Ryan, did you have any other thing to say about this situation?
Just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You asked about Joe. You talked about confidence, and you asked about confidence, Saule. And one thing that I find helpful is taking charge, but be humble.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's got to be a word for it, but be aware of what's out of your league and out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was put in this situation, now I don't know everything that's going on, but just based on what you were saying, which was very vague, I would be like, okay, first thing we're gonna do is literally if they put me on the task, I'd be like, all right, cool. Here's what we're gonna do, and they'll be like, whoa, this guy's got something that we're gonna do already, and I would just be like, we're gonna remove those people from under that thing because we're not going to have anybody testing on anything with numbers and calculations when people's lives are at stake. So no one's gonna work that line. And I would put it out there and if you can't do that for me, I'm not doing this. And you're gonna have to find someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And if I take that kind of command with my voice and with my, posture, there we go, words, with my posture, and just say, no, I mean, we've got people on the line. That's dangerous. We can't have that. And I'm not going to trust I don't trust anybody, including myself, with playing with numbers on something that can get people killed. So we're not going to do that. First off, let's get people out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of confidence, you'll feed yourself, if you will. Now, you don't want to feed yourself and your ego into a position where you're egotistical, right? That's why I say you got to be humble in this. But you want to be able to notice yourself, because when you notice yourself, you have momentum, right? Just obviously when you push a rock, the rock is a lot easier to start pushing and continuing to let it roll and so on. As soon as the rock stops, that's the hardest place it can be to start pushing it. And so when you come out of the gate on something, if you come out of the gate really shy and weak, the shy and weakness part of you has momentum. And that's going to be the easiest thing to carry out. You're going to continue acting shy and weak. scared, afraid, intimidated. And you'll notice that about yourself, and it'll be hard to change that because everything else is set at the value 0 still. And the thing that's got momentum is your shy, weak, worried, timid, vulnerable state. And it's okay to have those things. Those things are a part of you for a reason. Those things are good, but not always. This context matters. And in this kind of context, it's like, well, I need to do something important here. And so if you come out with this posture, with this act, if you will, of just like, hey, I'm taking charge, let's do this. You got that ball rolling for you, and that's going to be the easiest thing to continue with. And your confidence you'll see it and be able to continue it. And it's going to be a lot easier. So if you haven't started with that, right, that's hard. But if you are in the position now where you've maybe done some confident things, good. That's going to be easier and easier. If you're still in a state in your job where you haven't been able to take that kind of confident charge, find a place to do it. Or just start from 0 right now and just be like, okay, next week when I go into work, I'm gonna try to act like that. Because if that's what you want and it's something that you need in a job, it is. Because in order to take full responsibility, you can't be like, timid, right, about it. You have to have some sort of, you have to show you have the desire to control it and start controlling it, rather than anything else, I guess, right? And so also continuing along that line is the opposite effect of is humility, right? Joe was just talking about, when you are dealing with people, logic is important, but you also have to take the considerations of their emotions. And when you are doing, work with people and for people, exuding, taking too much confidence or too much control is not helpful because it doesn't allow other people to help, right? So my point of that is, don't worry about taking control. Worry about getting the best. Does that make sense? And I'm sure you already know this. You're not naturally inclined to try to control everything, I'm guessing, Sawale. There's certain personality types that are. I don't think that's your personality type, but if it is, you have to remember that in order to get the best out of everything in life, you have to let go of controlling everything in life. Because you can't get the best out of life. Not only can you not get it by yourself, you also can't get it because you don't know what it is. And you can't let other people shine in your life if you're taking control of everything. You literally can't, because you're controlling them, right? And so that's just not helpful. And so I'm not assuming that you are, Sally, but my point is to don't try to tread the line of taking too much control. Don't take control to a state of anything where you are no longer allowing other people to be free in choosing good options. Right? And so also with that, not trying to take control is recognizing what you simply can't do. Part of taking responsibility for something is recognizing, hey, you know what? That is not something I can do. That's important. That's an important thing to discover, an important thing to own, important thing to be proud of. I know that sounds crazy. Why would you be proud of something you can't do? Because it's part of who you are. And a part of the way you were made was to allow other people to shine. And so there are going to be times in your career where you're just going to be like, hey, I want to do what's best for this. And the best thing I can do is pass it on to someone else. Because I wasn't made to do this. Someone else was. And that's something to be proud of. When you can get to that state of the way that you handle yourself and handle other people around you, that's something to be proud of when you can do that. So don't be afraid of recognizing where something is out of your league or something is more than you handle or just not in your repertoire, not in something that your brain is designed to do. And just take it and say, you know what? I'm gonna let someone else shine here. That's gonna be awesome.
Mm.
Um, and to also be able to let go when you're just literally playing the waiting game. I remember waiting. I get doing the same job Joe was doing. Remember many times I would get just stuck in the mud or stuck in the snow or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to call for a tow truck.
Mm-hmm.
And it's annoying because now your whole schedule's out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can't get to any of your appointments that you had. You have to call them up and say, "Hey, sorry, I can't make it." And you're not making money that day. You're losing money that day because you have to pay a tow truck, and
Mm-hmm.
you're sitting there waiting for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes if you're out in the middle of nowhere, waiting for a tow truck.
Yep.
And for me, I was just like, I can do that. I can do that. Yeah, that's something I can do.
I can sit and
And
wait.
it sounds, yeah, and I can do
Mm.
that. And I can make good time with it. It might not be with my job, but I can think about things. I can use my brain in this moment to, hey, maybe I need a rest, or maybe I need to pray, or maybe I can, do some calculations, whatever it is, right? And so be willing to let go um, is also an important part of being able to be calm and handle yourself well.
Mm.
Because there are plenty of people who get all flustered, their car breaks down or whatever, they get stuck, and all of a sudden they're in panic mode and they're angry and they're flying off the handle and they can't control themselves. And you're sitting there going, that's fine. It's okay. Like, it's okay that we're here. And then you
Mm.
can help them relax, right? Um, and it's not just a matter of how many times you've faced it, it's how many times you've faced it correctly.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Um, And so when you go through your struggles in life and you recognize these things that, oh, this is just a time where I have to wait. It's okay. It's in someone else's hands. All I can do is wait. It's okay to be there. When something's out of your control or out of your league, it's okay to be there. And when something is your responsibility, it's okay to be there too. And what matters is how you work through those. So yeah, um, that's what I got. And I hope all of that is helpful. Yeah, 3 hours waiting for a tow truck. I've been there. Yeah. I ended up getting to
Mm-hmm.
hang out in a nearby house with an older couple. Oh, that's cute. Shelter from the snow was nice. Plus, the kind people were a blessing. Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. That's awesome. So that's awesome. That's a great story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great example. That's a great example of a situation where it's like, you know what? There's literally nothing I can do about this scenario. Let's just let it go. Instead of going, what do I do? What do I do? And your mind is buzzing 400 miles an hour about something that's already over and can't be changed. you know,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I shouldn't have gotten into this place in the first place. And how do I, blah, blah, blah. And what, and you're like calling the tow truck and freaking out on them, and they're coming. You're like, but it's gonna take too long, and it's just gonna take the whole day. And then by the time they get here, my whole day is gonna be over, and I can't get it paid, and all this kind of stuff. And just like, calm down. All of that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. You're not doing anything by thinking about it. Just it's out of your control now.
All right.
It's fine. Just be calm and enjoy yourself. To the best, make the moment something good in another way. And I think Sally, that's a great example. That's what you did there. You made your moment. You made it a blessing of a moment. So yeah. Thank you for the insight, Ryan. You have helped me connect past events in my life to new lessons. Awesome.
Mm.
Fantastic.
Good.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Um yep, but anyways, that's what I got. Sometimes you need that momentum, take control, and just be like, hey, just be on top of it. Be a little bit edgy, if you will, like you
Mm-hmm.
get an edge onto yourself. But that momentum will carry you and keep you in that line of like, hey, this is my area, and I've got responsibility here, and I'm trying to honor it. I'm trying to make it awesome, and that's what I'm gonna do. And that momentum will carry, and people will follow under you. People will see that and be like, oh, I'm gonna be with him. Um, so yeah. But anyways, best of luck to you in your job. I think that's awesome, and keep it up, man. Good luck. God
Mm-hmm.
bless you out there. And thanks for the topic. I'm going to give it back over to Joe.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. And again, thank you, Saul. It's a great topic. There's only one thing that I just want to re-emphasize that Ryan said, and that is own it. Own where you are at. You will find self-assurance the more you're honest with yourself, and the more that you are honest with everybody else around you. The more we try to put up this front of, hey, I know this stuff and blah, 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 when we don't actually know it,
Mm-hmm.
then we're going to feel less sure of ourselves and less confident. The more we just, hey, this is where I'm at. I have this training which qualified me for the job, but I don't know anything about this job I just started. You know, I remember, I was doing some construction work and I didn't know anything. And you know, I remember the boss that I had, I was related to by marriage. Um, but there was this kind of tendency for there was kind of this culture in this small company of, you know, not explaining things fully, not really training, just saying, okay, go do this, whether you know how to do it or not. And then people would start doing it. And then inevitably, since you've never done it before, you do it wrong. And then they come around and they yell at you. And I was just like, I'm not going to stand for that. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to annoy you with questions when I don't know how to do something, because I've never done this stuff before. And so I'm just going to annoy you with the questions. And I'm sorry. And I will tell you this, if you notice me doing something wrong, please come over and tell me, hey, this is how you're supposed to do it. But don't make fun of me for doing something wrong when I don't know how to do it. You got to teach me. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to try. But, don't half explain something and then make fun of me for doing it wrong later. Or
Right.
be overly
That's
upset at me for doing it wrong later, whatever, right? Like, I mean, because that was just kind of the culture. So I don't know if you're in a culture like that where you work. I know sometimes that can be the case where, we take such big pot shots to our confidence because people are always like, oh, did you see how he did that? Oh man, he doesn't know what he's talking. He doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah, what an idiot. Blah, 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 blah. I've been in work environments like that before. And I just sit there. And so one thing, you will gain self-assurance by just owning your spot. I knew you would eat popcorn on the stream.
You told me to.
I did. Thank you. Thank you for following
You're welcome.
my instructions.
Everybody wanted me to.
Yeah.
By everybody, I meant you, me.
Okay.
Beyonce.
I'm like, I don't constitute as everyone. And even if it's just the three of
people
us,
is everyone to me.
Is that everyone? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Disaster. Welcome. Hey, did you want me to eat popcorn on the stream? Was that something you wanted me to do? Let me know. That way we can include you and everyone. If you didn't, then you're not everyone. It's all right. You don't have to be. It's just it's up to you.
Yeah. So you say your group is very demanding, but also supportive. That's great. I'm glad that they're supportive.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Ryan, eat the popcorn.
Okay. Right.
And but hey, so the more you own your spot, the more self-assurance you will have. And if you have the ability to kind of be amused by yourself when you screw things up, because it's going to happen. You're going to make mistakes, And if you can just laugh at yourself, be like, oof, well, oh well, I messed that up. I will not do that next time. The more you're going to feel confident. Because you're going to realize that, hey, you know what? I'm just a person just like everybody else. I don't know everything just like everybody else. The thing I'm learning is that most people don't know what the heck they're talking about. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about half the time. I try my best.
That's right.
And I know what I know based on my level of experience and all that kind of stuff. But man, I don't know everything. And it's funny because the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. Like, when I didn't know much, I thought I knew everything.
That's right.
But now that I know more, I realize there's a lot more stuff that I don't know. And so, it's interesting how that works. And so if you keep learning,
Mm-hmm.
you keep that humility like Ryan was talking about, you just own your spot where you're at, be okay with where you're at and be able to be amused by yourself, man. I'll tell you what, you will be able to keep your composure in so many situations where people lose their cookies.
Yep, people will lose
Yeah.
their cookies over cookies.
Mm-hmm. You betcha. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, science rocks. This advice is way too relatable to me lately. My own job is getting a bit too stressful. I have been there.
Mm-hmm.
I have been there, and I'm sorry. I know how stressful it can be. But
Mm-hmm.
Saule, hopefully some of that's helpful for you. Thank you again for the topic. You're amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so keep on keeping on, man. And if you want to reach out, feel free. You know how to get a hold of both of us. And yeah, keep us posted on how things are going. I'd definitely be interested to hear how things are progressing. So you're
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you for the topic.
Yeah, thank you. And
Mm-hmm.
Science Rocks, if you missed the beginning of the topic, feel free to head on back to the beginning and catch back up. Because if you thought that was relatable to what you're dealing with, then maybe there's some nuggets in there for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But oh my gosh, it's been forever, Science Rocks. So great to see you. I
Mm-hmm.
hope you're doing awesome. It's really great to see you.
You look awesome from here. I can tell.
Mm-hmm. Look as good as ever, man.
Fantastic. All right. Well, let's move on to another topic, shall we?
Oh yeah, food service as a job is bunk. Yeah, it's just hectic as all heck,
Mm-hmm.
if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do
Uh,
another one. Unfortunately, the other anonymous person I don't think is with us at the moment anymore. So, if they show up
the
later, cool, we'll do it. But if
the
not,
Am I Human Maybe? That one?
yeah, correct. And my human
Okay.
maybe is no longer available, it seems.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, and Hatsu, I'm going to honor your suggestion and
Hatsu went to sleep.
yeah, yeah, and not do your topic.
Oh, okay.
So uh if you are here and you have a topic and you want to let us know that you're here, you can feel free to do that. We do have one from Cell. And I don't know if you're here or not. Um man. Oh, hey Vivi. It's great to see you. Haven't seen you in a long time
Oh,
either.
hey, Vivi, I
Mm-hmm.
hope you're doing so great. It's nice to see you.
Yes, yes.
Um, we have one from Dia submitted an hour ago. It hasn't been processed yet, but we also have two anonymous ones
Mm-hmm.
from February 15th and February 25th, which
Yeah. I think we'll just
they
we'll
don't.
just grab the February 15th one.
Oh, and 21th. Yep, that's
21th.
right.
Well, the
21th.
15th came first,
Mhm.
so we'll do that one first.
That's right. Mm-hmm. It became, yeah, that's right.
That's the extent of my math. 15 came before 21.
Perfect. The
Math.
15th one came before the 21st.
That's right. The 21st. Awesome. All right. So this is from
21st.
Anonymous. This is called Taken for Granted. And what I'm going to do
Mm.
is go ahead and get this uh, put up on the screen for you. So then you can read it. Uh-oh. I see the word romantic in here. Oh boy. About to see Angry Joe.
Mm.
All right. Well, let me get it up here so you guys can read along. Um, and there it is. Oh my gosh. You'll probably read
This
it
could be
three
a really
times
short one.
before I actually read it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So this is from Anonymous. Taken for granted. How do you prevent a partner from taking you for granted in a romantic relationship? From Anonymous. Great question. I'm not sure necessarily how to do that all the time because sometimes it just happens. We do that. We take people for granted. And in romance, it's easy to do because the longer you're with someone, the more history you have, the more you tend to think
I
that.
love English.
Oh boy.
Thanks, Diamond.
I love you too.
Diamond.
um, yeah. So, um, how do you prevent a partner from taking you for granted in a romantic relationship? I don't know. I've been taken for granted lots of times. And part of that was probably because I was reliable. And I try to do my best to have character and integrity and do what I say and everything like that, and so I work my hardest to be the person that I present to the world as well, like to actually be fully that person, right? That I say that I am. And then the more you do that, I think it's easier to be taken for granted because you're reliable and they don't have to think about it. And, so they just kind of, okay, he's there and, this is how he's going to operate and da 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 and whatever, right? So this is a really, really good question. And we'll see if I get triggered just because there's romance in there. So
Mhm.
I will turn it over to Ryan and let him talk on the romance topic. So, Ryan, it's all yours, buddy.
All right. Yeah, Anonymous, I really hope you're with us still. I mean, it's been about a month since you sent this one in, which I apologize we didn't get to before. Um, but yeah, I really hope you're with us either today or in maybe you'll come back and watch the video. And you don't feel forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is an interesting topic because, of course, we don't have the full the full scenario. Um, um, we don't have the full story here, and that makes it kind of difficult. Because you ask obviously how do you prevent a partner from taking you for granted in a romantic relationship? And that my first question is not not one of like by no means am I trying to put the pressure on you um in this question or rather and by no means am I trying to accuse you of anything in this question. But my first question to you would be um how do you know that they're taking you for granted?
Mm.
And that's a it's an interesting question because to know that you're being taken for granted means that you also must have the ability to perceive yourself and them, and that you notice that they're not cherishing the good that you're giving them, right? It like to ask this question to begin with demands that you notice that they're not cherishing what you are giving them with yourself. And um it makes me wonder um whose fault that is. Because and I'm not trying to place blame on anybody, but um I was in a relationship once where um everything that I did was just accepted, but everything that they did had to be met in equal kind.
Mm.
And so it felt like was I being taken granted for? Yeah. But at the same time, they felt like they were being taken granted for. When it would always have to be like a perfect, like we had to give equal everything. So if they did something nice for me, I had to do something nice for them. Um, and that's a really hard relationship to live up to. In fact, I think it's one that's impossible to live up to. When you have this idea of like, Well, I did this, and this for them. They owe me. They should be doing something for me in kind. And if they're not, then they clearly aren't invested in the relationship and they're taking me for granted. And that's one way of looking at it. And that's not necessarily unjustified. That's not a wrong statement, but at the same time, I think it's the wrong kind of thinking. Because it's not necessarily the kind of thinking that will guide you in a relationship that will be effective and helpful. You know, when you're dealing with someone who's an outsider, a stranger, a business transaction, if you will, you want a good exchange with them, an exchange that feels equal. You know, when you go buy a good, you're like, hey, I gave you $50, I should get a $50 reward, right? It's like, but you gave me a broken piece of material and I can't use it. So
Mm.
this is not an equal exchange here. We need to fix it, right? And sometimes what you're going to get in your relationship, in a romantic relationship especially, is you're going to give your full and they're going to give their brokenness in return. Does that make sense? And
Mm-hmm.
now, obviously, Anonymous, you're not here to answer. And I'm sorry, my nose is stuffy and stuff. My sinuses are all crazy.
You should be
Um,
sorry for that.
I am sorry. Um, my infections are also sorry. They apologize.
Ah,
Those
good thing,
bacterium.
man. I was so upset with those infections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
Rhymes with
anyways,
inspections.
inspections, infections. Yeah. Um, infection, inspection.
So I was an
Anyways,
inspector. It could be an infector. Yeesh.
ooh, he
Oh
could
boy.
be both.
Oof.
Uh-huh. Oh boy. So anyhow, um, yeah. I mean, it's just the truth of it. Sometimes you're going to give yourself fully, and what they're going to give you in return is their brokenness. And sometimes it's going to be like that over and over and over. Um, and it's not necessarily that you're better than them because those tables will turn. Sometimes you're going to give them your brokenness, and they're going to give you their best in return.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's going to be heartbreaking for you because you're gonna feel like crap. And then you're gonna feel like even more crap because you recognize that you were not able to give them full goodness of yourself, and instead you gave them crap, and they give you goodness in return, and you're just gonna feel guilty, but also really blessed, and it's gonna be lovely, and that guilt is going to be a lovely guilt. So, I know, I'm sort of taking this in a weird direction, Anonymous, but um, part of me wonders if the reason you know that you're being taken granted for is that you have a perception that a romantic relationship is an equal exchange or even remotely similar to any kind of exchange because it's just not. If you start counting who's doing what, your romantic relationship is destined to fail. Um, because that's not the point of a romantic relationship. A romantic relationship is designed to help us build each other up and build ourselves up and become the best people we can be. And to support each other, regardless of whatever hard times may bring. That never happens when you're looking for who's doing what amount of work or who's doing this for that person, and I'm being, taken for granted. Now, all of that being said, all that being said, the reason I started out saying I'm not accusing you of this is because I'm not. I'm not saying that that's your situation. I'm just putting that out there because there are going to be people possibly here today who are in that scenario, who are um, of that who are experiencing someone that's like that. They're in a romantic relationship with someone that keeps track of the goods that they do, and they expect to be given something back in kind. Um, and it's just a bad scenario. But anyways,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not accusing you of that by any means. I recognize that there are situations where you notice in your partner that they don't cherish you. You notice in your partner that when you are kind to them, they never say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
no matter what you do for them, it's never enough. And in those scenarios, those circumstances, I don't know what to tell you. Unfortunately, you say, how do you prevent a partner from taking advantage or taking you for granted? How do you prevent a partner from taking you for granted? It's such a weird question to me because I don't know how to prevent my partner from doing anything. My hope is to allow them to be themselves and to gratify that, the best part of themselves, and not necessarily try to prevent them from something.
Mm.
Um, because if they're my partner, I trust that they don't have ill intent against me, so I don't have a reason to try to prevent them from something bad. And if they're taking me from granted, then it's not out of ill intent. It's just out of a state of mind that we can work through, and they'd probably be willing to work through that because as soon as they'd notice it, they'd be like, "Oh, they care about me, and they don't want to be in that place, and they don't want me in that place, right?" So that's a it's a very strange question to me, and to me, like I feel like I've been in a circumstance where I've felt like, how do I do that? How do I prevent this person from taking me for granted? Or how do I get a relationship on back on track in that kind of way? Um, where it's clear that they don't cherish me or don't care about my efforts. And so when I was in those, I can only tell you that they ended, and that's a really sad thing to say, because obviously you care about this person, but if this person doesn't care about you in kind, then that's not that's not a romantic relationship. To It's not an ideal romantic relationship. Rather, can it be redeemed? Probably, quite possibly, yeah. Can it be redeemed? Sure, it's a possibility. It always is, but it's not necessarily, well, it's almost always is, I should say. It isn't always, but things can be redeemed and things can be fixed in a relationship. And so if there is something wrong here and you feel like you need to prevent your partner from taking you for granted, if there's something wrong in the relationship ties that make you feel this way of like, oh my gosh, how do I stop them from me taking me for granted? Um, I can give you an example of something in my life, and it's not necessarily going to be helpful, but I hope it's going to be helpful, but it might not necessarily be um, something that's like akin to advice that I'd normally give um, about how to solve a romantic relationship. But I can tell you about a scenario. There was a scenario where I was in a relationship with someone. This happened actually a few times, two times to me, and this happened to my mom quite a few times, and that's how I recognized it. Um, when you get in a relationship with someone, it's easy for them to become complacent. Because what they're looking for is love, and if they feel loved, as so long as they feel loved, they no longer feel like they have to try for other things.
Mm.
And so I had a relationship with two different people. One person was committed to self improvement, and then I thought that was attractive and that was great, and I was happy for them. And then we got into a relationship, and they felt love, and that love made them no longer feel the need to improve themselves, and that
Mm.
complacency
Mm.
started to because they were no longer on the road to improvement. Their stagnant behavior drew them back and back and backwards into unimprovement. And so they are regressing, and they were losing all the improvements they had gained over the past year in the matter of a month. In the matter of months, like 2 months, they're just like lost it all of the stuff that they had worked on, because of complacency, because they achieved that one thing they were looking for, which was love. And in that kind of scenario, it's like, how do you prevent that from happening? And then the second one, um, I was with a girl. She was studying to be a nurse so she could move to America. But we got in a romantic relationship, and that romantic relationship taught her that, hey, I would love her regardless of anything. No matter what happens in life, I'll be there for her. And it made it so that she didn't have to try doing anything in life because she knew that she would be fulfilled in love. And that's sort of a beautiful thing, but at the same time, I didn't pull out the best in her. What I did was I made her complacent because I
Mm.
had told her, whatever you do, I'm going to love you and it's fine. And that's true and that's a good thing. And it's not wrong to tell people that. But it doesn't mean that you can tell people you don't have to do anything and I'll love you. Rather, you will love them even if they don't do anything because that's your state of who you are and what you're about. But at the same time, the love that you have should compel them forward. How you speak to them should compel them forward in the way that you speak. How you treat them should encourage them to do great many things, not encourage them to stand still. And so while we can love people for where they're at, the way that we love them and the way that they speak to them should compel them forward because that's what love is. Love is to desire the best for someone, right? True love is to desire the very best for another person. And we have to act that out and live that out. And if the way that we're interacting with this person causes them to be complacent, then we have to reorder the way that we're speaking to them, the way that we're providing for them, the way that we're loving them, so that we can call the better version of them out of themselves, rather than let them fall into this complacency and take you for granted. And so, my answer to that question is simply that. I don't know what's going on in your relationship, and I don't know how to solve it, and I don't know if it should be solved or can be solved or if you're even in it anymore. But um, take a look at how your love looks to them, if you can. How are you treating them? And recognize that there's room to grow there, and that there's a way you can love someone and pull the greatness out of them. Um, and 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 that also is in part in how you act and treat yourself, because how you act and treat yourself is ultimately what you put out into the world, and also how people follow you. When people follow your leadership, especially, and that happens all the time in a romantic relationship, you follow each other, and when you're acting in that leadership role and they're following you, but you're not talking good to yourself, they're not going to talk good to themselves either, because they're following you. And if you're not trying to work on yourself and become a better version of yourself, they're not going to do that either because they're following you. And so you need to the best of your ability, take a look at what you're doing in your relationship. And I'm sure it's a lot. That's why you feel like you're being taken granted for it, because you feel like you're doing a lot. And that's awesome. And I want to encourage you to keep on doing a lot. But my point is, take a look at what you are doing and say, are these things helping them? Are these things helping them? Because they might feel good to you to give, and you might look at the person and say, okay, this is what they need, and you're doing it for them. But just like a kid um, who's never, um, you know, built anything before, if you go in and build it for them, they don't learn. Give kids some clothes to fold, and they don't know how to fold clothes very well, and you're just like, I'm getting fed up. You're taking too long, and you fold the clothes for them, or you even like, hey, sweetie, I'll do it for you, and you fold the clothes for them. They'll never learn. They'll never take pride in the fact that they learned how to fold clothes. They'll grow up to be 40, and they'll never fold their clothes, and their wife will fold their clothes for them, and it's just gonna be that's their life. And so you're gonna want to foster them. Obviously, they're not your child, but they're your significant other, and you're going to want to try to foster them and bring out the best in them, and that's going to require you to look at how you see things, but also what you're doing for them, what you need to pull back on, and what you need to push forward on, and how you can be a better example if you can be a better example to them. If you're not already being, and you could already being, so they could just be in a funk, and they're not able to follow you at the moment. It could be anything, and you might need to have a conversation with them, an honest conversation. And if you can't have that honest conversation because you're stepping on eggshells, and that's a scary place to be. And that's a place I would want no one to be in a romantic relationship. So if that's where you're at, that's a whole nother problem. But anyways, I think it's a very real and honest and serious situation that you're going through, and I want to honor that. And I think that there's a lot of different things you can look at in your life and try to hopefully navigate, relook at, and restart to navigate that relationship. Not necessarily from scratch, but do something called plan, do, check, and adjust, PDCA. And you plan something out. You look at what you got. You look at it and you're like, okay, this isn't working, so I'm going to make a different plan. I'm going to treat them slightly differently, not harshly, not mean, but maybe a little tough love can help. I
Be
know that
mean.
helped me
It's okay to be
sometimes.
mean.
It's okay to be mean. Yeah, there's no the golden rule doesn't say you can't be mean. It's okay to be mean sometimes. It's true. It's okay to get hurt sometimes, and it's okay to hurt others sometimes if if it's not for the sake of evil or for the sake of hurting them. It's just you recognize, hey, sometimes we have to get hurt to get better. Um, and that's a whole different thing, right? So anyways, I recognize this is it's a tough subject, but yeah, plan, do, check, and adjust. Just you make a plan, then you do it, and then you check it and see how it went. You would make the adjustment, and then you plan again, right? And you just keep on doing that until you find yourself in a position where you've landed on the sweet spots of like, oh, I was missing this part of my relationship. I can tell you something real quick, just as a last thing. There's a certain thing called love languages. And if you can't speak your other person's love language, if you don't know what it is, then they can't even see that you're trying to love on them. So they don't ever feel it's like you feel like you're taken granted because you're doing all this work, but they can't see any of the work as a love, right? You might be working your butt off for them to make them feel happy, but all they want is physical touch or for you to
Mm,
spend time with them,
mhm.
for you to give them kind words. And it's like not in your realm to give them kind words. It's like words. What are words? Words don't mean anything. Actions mean everything. It's like, well, that's not the way that they operate. So they can't feel love. You're doing all these things. You're doing their dishes. You're doing everything for them. And they don't feel any bit of love from it. And so, of course, it's going to feel like you're being taken granted for because they don't see those things because those things don't matter to them. They literally don't matter to them. They don't see them. They literally almost cannot see them because they matter so little. Because it's not their love language. Their love language is words. Or it could be something else. Maybe you're giving them the sweetest words in the world, but all those words literally mean nothing to them. All they want is, did you think about what you were going to buy them for their birthday? Because they didn't get anything or anything that meant anything to them. And it's like, that's soul crushing. It's like, I didn't know that was even like like when I say words like I love you and you're beautiful and stuff like that, that doesn't you don't it doesn't help you feel good or anything. It's like no, it's just words. It's like, oh. So like it's really important to try to touch on all the love languages if you can, but more importantly, find out what the love languages. And if you don't know what that is, there's a great book called Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman, and I would encourage to read. It might save your romance. It might save your relationship, or help you in a different one in the future. Um, but if you don't have money, or for some reason you can't buy things on Amazon, I would encourage you just at least take the test and have them take the test, um, so that you can try to operate under the ways that they feel loved rather than just pouring your love out on them and expecting them to feel it too. So all of these are great tips, and I hope they're great tips. They're tips that have helped me in my relationships. So I'm gonna end up finishing there, and I know I've talked for a long time, and I'm gonna give it over to Joe, and hope he's got some meanness to add to you. I'm just kidding
Some
about the meanness.
meanness.
Yeah, some good quality wisdom.
I'm glad you talked for a long time because I don't have much to say.
Okay, cool.
I would definitely go back and re-listen to what Ryan had to say about this topic because, yes, there's a lot of wisdom there, and there's a lot of how to navigate a relationship, especially a romantic one, is not easy. It takes a
Mm-mm.
lot of work, and okay, well, to To make it really short, I'd just say, okay, how do you stop being taken for granted in a romantic relationship? Don't be in a romantic relationship.
That's one way out. It's very easy. That's a very quick way out.
Yeah.
Not easy. Quick.
um, that's not necessarily the best advice, but like that's one way, obviously. But like from my experience, I mean, romantic relationships, depending on how long they last, they and if it lasts for years and goes on for a long time, you're gonna kind of go in and out of this. We're totally into each other and we're in love with each other and this is great, and then everything kind of settles down a little bit and then it's kind of boring, and then you get on with your lives and you're together and there they are. And you're there and so are they. And it's just like, okay, well, we do this day in and day out. We eat Kraft macaroni and cheese and, rice cakes and, like whatever. And like on our paper plates with the little plastic things we got at the dollar store and whatever, blah, blah, blah. You're living your life and there you are. And it's, a lot of life is kind of mundane. And so it's really easy to take each other for granted, especially when you're there all the time. When you get married, you live together, whatever, there they are. You wake up, there they are. You go to sleep, there they are. It's kind of like being with myself. It was hilarious. I was talking to Ryan and I was like, man, I'm at Black Static and Swerve, I'm in artist management. I manage the artists, all of our roster of artists, which is growing. And it's getting more and more complicated. Because each one of these people has a personality. Each one of them has different things that, get them going. Each one has different things that, make them upset. There's all kinds of stuff to learn and figure out, right? And I was like, but Ryan, the guy that I have the most trouble with on our roster is this one right here. Me. I have more trouble with me than with anybody else on our roster because I can't get rid of the guy. He follows me around. He's always asking me questions. He follows me in the bathroom. I have to wipe his butt for him, like all this stuff, like I can't get away from the guy. And it was funny because I told Ryan's sister-in-law, Kyle's wife, I told her that. I was like, and I ended with the whole thing. I got to wipe the guy's butt for him. And she's like, man, I got 6 kids. There's all kinds of butts for me to wipe.
That's right. That's funny.
I was like, all right, you win.
Yeah, all right, fine. You just won. Yeah, I don't even know why I'm talking.
Yeah. So anyway, but I mean, relationships kind of go that way, and when you spend enough time with someone and you're there all the time with them, things can kind of it's easy to take people for granted. They're going to be here. They're going to be there when I get home. They're going to be there when I get up. They're going to be there when I go to bed, whatever. So what do you do? And I love what Ryan was saying, like, first off, make sure your head's in the right place. Are you taking them for granted? It's a fair question. Because if you're feeling like you're being taken for granted, sometimes it's just the appropriate response to you taking them for granted. So they're just, dishing out what you're dishing out. It's possible. I don't know. And I don't know if that's your situation or not. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we try and try and try. And the more we try, the more we get taken for granted. The more we try to be a good partner, the more we can get taken for granted. Because the more we're doing, the more they just expect that we're just going to keep doing it. So one thing you can do is you can shake things up. And that might, that might help. Do something that you don't normally do. You don't have to be mean. I love it. Vivi, you're awesome because you're like, please don't be mean just for the sake of being mean. Yes, yes. You don't have to be mean, but if you can throw a little bit of unpredictability in there, you're going to find, that it's fun, first of all. And second of all, it might just shake them up a little bit so they think, oh, maybe I don't have this person all figured out. Because that's the thing. A lot of times when we take someone for granted, it's because we feel like we have them figured out. But do any of us really have any other person figured out?
We don't even have ourselves figured out. We're learning about ourselves as we
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have ourselves figured out. How can we expect to have somebody else figured out? So why are we taking them for granted in the first place? But we do. We do. And it happens because we get in that comfort zone. We talked about it in Saule's topic. Being in the comfort zone just leads to difficult times being more difficult. And so if we can shake up the comfort zone a little bit, do something a little impulsive, do something a little exciting, do something a little bit edgy. Ryan talked about being edgy. I like that. I like being edgy. You might be able to shake up the complacency enough to stop them from taking you for granted. It's possible. It's also possible that you will never do anything that'll stop them from taking you for granted, and that's just the way it's going to be. That's a possibility too. I don't want to tell you that, hey, if you just do this, this, and this, a prescribed way of doing things, then all these things are magically going to happen and fall into your lap and everything's going to be great, because I can't guarantee that. Mm-hmm. You might follow all of Ryan's advice and it might not change a dang thing.
True. It's just true.
Mm-hmm.
Still worth trying, but
sure, of course.
Might not be you.
Yep. They might be them. It might be a them problem.
Yeah, they might just be them. Yeah.
Maybe who knows? I mean, I've heard all kinds of different types of advice. Well, if they're taking you for granted, then, bring them some flowers and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And if you're a guy and you're with a girl and a girl is telling you what to do, don't listen to them. I'm sorry. And if you're a girl and a guy is telling you what you need to do to stop this guy taking you for granted, don't listen to him. Guys and girls both say they want certain things, but in actuality, those things just make them feel more comfortable. So then they're more likely to take you for granted because they feel more comfortable. It's like anytime I hear somebody, they talk about, oh, I like this girl, but I'm afraid to tell her how I feel, da 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 da. And some girl comes up to him and tells him, oh, you should just tell him how you feel. Open your heart and come clean and da 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 da. Don't do that. No. That's what they want you to do so they can feel comfortable, so they can come to this decision. But if you're trying to, attract them, part of the attraction is the uncertainty, right? And so when you're being taken for granted, if you can be a little bit uncertain, it can help. Oh, but it always works on TV. Oh my gosh. I love it. Vivi, I love you. You're awesome. But anyway, yeah, so you can try whatever you want. I've tried all kinds of stuff, and I for years and years in my marriage, I tried to not be taken for granted, and I tried all kinds of things to just be better, be a better husband, be a more committed husband, be a more service-oriented person, do whatever I could, try to just provide everything possible, all this stuff, try and was met with brick wall after brick wall after brick wall. And then, finally, it was weird. There was a moment when she was mad at me. I stumbled upon this by accident. It was weird because this had been going on for a really, really long time. And she said something and she was really mad. And she was talking to me about something that, you know, like, oh, you said this and blah, 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 whatever. And she was super mad. And I just laughed at her. I'm not recommending this necessarily, but it worked in this particular situation because it was unpredictable. She expected me to be like, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, blah, 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 blah. Let me see what I can do to fix this. Da, 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 da. But in this case, she was mad and she yelled and she made some kind of statement and I just laughed. And she was like, what's so funny? Actually, it was more like, what's so funny? And I was like, you know what? I just realized something. She's like, what's that? I said, I realized I'm going to try as hard as I possibly can. And I'm going to do the best I can. And you know what I've realized? It's never going to be enough. So why should I try? And so I just laughed, you know? And, you know, what happened was it shook things up enough. So at least I wasn't being taken for granted. Now, it did cause some uncomfortable conversations. But nothing is more taken for granted. Or nothing gets more taken for granted than when you're in a comfort zone. When you feel comfortable, it's easy to take things for granted. It's easy to take people for granted. It's easy to take situations for granted. When you feel comfortable, it's easy to do that. I've had this happen in my professional life where I've had a job and, you know, everything was comfortable. Everything was going and it was great. And, you know, it was like day in and day out. And then you just kind of start taking this stuff for granted. And then, and this is my life and blah, 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 blah. And that happened to a lot of people around me. And then somebody would get fired. And they'd been taking this job for granted for the last 15 years, and now all of a sudden they're fired. And then you have the fallout of when the thing you've been taking for granted all of a sudden is gone. Whoa. That shakes things up inside you. Then you're really uncomfortable. It's funny because, you know, at this particular job that I had, the one of the favoriteest sayings of the company president, and these people were taking their jobs for granted. It cracked me up because, like, this president, what he said was, the best thing about your current staff is that it doesn't have to be your current staff.
Now what's his favorite saying?
That was one of his favorite sayings. And all these people are taking their jobs for granted. And it was just like, dude, like every single one of us is like an inch from getting fired anytime. Like all this could be gone. You know? But so if you're being taken for granted, maybe pull back some of the things you're doing. If you're trying really hard and you're working really hard and you are just, you know, you're doing all this love language stuff like Ryan's talking about, you're trying to figure out how can I please this person? How can I make them happy? Which in a relationship, it's not your job to please someone or make them happy.
It's true.
It's your job to love them. You are never going to make another person happy. The happiness is an inside job for each one of us. Your partner included. It's not your job to make them happy. And if they depend on you for their happiness, then that's wrong. That if they believe that lie, then they got to figure out some truth. And live your truth, man. So like, okay, I'm sorry for yelling.
It's all good.
but I love you. And so maybe if you're trying really hard, stop trying so hard. If you feel taken for granted and you're afraid of losing this person, what are you afraid of losing? Somebody who takes you for granted? Why are you afraid of losing that? It's crummy. Oh, but they're so wonderful and they're so pretty. But they're taking you for granted. Stop it. So pull back.
I agree with that.
Stop trying so hard. Stop doing all these extra things. Stop. And you don't have to say anything, and you don't have to be like, well, you're taking me for granted, so blah, 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 you know, when they confront you on it, because there probably will be some blowback when you stop doing the things that they expect you to do because they're taking you for granted. When they say, well, what the heck, blah, 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 blah. Here's where I would recommend not necessarily coming clean. I do recommend having conversations before you start trying all this stuff. Like there was a suggestion in the chat. Communication. Yes. I think it was Vivi. Vivi said something about communication and how it's important, and you should tell them. You know, I feel like you're really taking me for granted. Have that conversation. Yes. But if that's not effective, start pulling back. Start stopping doing some of the things you're doing that they're taking for granted. And then when the blowback happens, don't confront them on the taking you for granted thing. You just kind of, oh, I'm sorry. Was that? I didn't realize I was supposed to be doing that all the time. Or I didn't realize that was like a prerequisite. You know, whatever. You know, just kind of blow it off a little bit, you know? But when they get upset or when there's some kind of blowback, what you can read into that is the taking you for granted part is diminishing. Because now they're not as comfortable. They're feeling some uncertainty. They're like, maybe I don't have this person figured out. Maybe I can't count on what my idea of them is. And then what you realize is through all that, they're not taking you for granted as much. Okay? Now it doesn't have to be mean or create conflict or anything like that, although that does work. It can be fun. You can be unpredictable in a fun way. You know? You just be like, you know, if you're coming home from work every day and you see them all the time, blah, 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 and they're just there and they're whatever, blah, 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 this and that, and other thing, and it's always the same, day in and day out, day in and day out. And if you maybe you come home one day and you're just like, okay, get in the car. They're like, what do you mean get in the car? You just got home from work. You just were in your car. Why do you want me to get back in the car? Like, get in the car. We're going somewhere. And then go someplace that you've never been before. Or you can take them someplace that you know they like and surprise them. The more you can surprise someone, the less they're going to be able to predict your next move. So the thought of taking you for granted is going to be lower and lower in their mind. If you can be a little bit unpredictable, a little bit spontaneous, and this can be fun too, right? I know I always, when we talk about relationships, this all sounds so manipulative. I know. Sorry. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Are you doing this for their good? Or are you doing this for their ill? What's your intent here? A person taking another person for granted is not good for either person. And if you're trying to shake that up, you're doing a good thing, right? I hate to use the term manipulative because there's manipulative when I think of manipulative, I think of something selfish, I think of something negative, I think of something hurtful. That in my mind is manipulation. When someone's trying to do something that's going to benefit them and injure another person or use another person for their benefit. No. Taking someone for granted is not a healthy state of mind. And if we can lead somebody out of that state of mind, that works toward their good. Does this make sense? If I'm wrong, Ryan can talk and he can correct all my mistakes.
Well, technically, everything you do is manipulative in a relationship.
That's really true. It's really true. We're always looking for trying to lead somebody in a certain direction in a lot of cases,
Right. That's what love. You want the best for someone.
Mm-hmm.
And you're willing to act on that. That's a form of manipulation, but it's out of a pure, holy, loving sense. But it's still technically you manipulating something. But yeah.
Yep. So anyway, I would say that shake things up a little bit, maybe pull back a little bit if you have to, but I would definitely start with what Vivi recommended and have the conversation first. Before you go down any of that road that might seem like it's manipulative, but it's really just leading somebody to a better state of mind, right? If you can have the conversation and say, hey, I'm really feeling taken for granted here, like, why is that? What's going on? And maybe they'll tell you. Maybe they'll be like, well, I'm upset because of this and da-da-da-da-da. Or it just doesn't feel like, we're doing anything new and it just starting to feel routine and mundane. And some people really like that and they like feeling comfortable. But, I'll tell you, the more we're comfortable, the more we're willing to take everything for granted. And we don't realize, any moment, something can change. At any moment, something can get taken away. At any moment, our life could be over. At any moment, somebody's life that we love could be over. Stuff happens by surprise all the time. And when you realize how powerless we are in so much of what happens in the world, there's an excitement, but there's also, when you learn to accept that, you can be a lot more confident and you can understand, you know what? If this happens, it's going to hurt me. Okay, fine. But I'm going to survive. There's going to be another day tomorrow. Until there's not. Because we all take for granted the sun comes up and goes down, but what happens when the sun explodes? Right now, it's 92 million miles away. It's not 92 million miles away anymore once it's exploding, man. Just got a lot closer. Or what if it implodes? Who knows? We don't know. All kinds of stuff can happen at any given time. And, the more we understand that, the less we'll take things for granted. The more we keep ourselves on our toes, because we can play this game with ourselves. We can manipulate ourselves. I try to do this. Because when I start taking things for granted, it's like, oh, geez, and I start settling into this mundane routine. It's like, I try and remind myself, wait a minute, all this could go away if I don't do this. All this could end if I don't do this, so I better go do that. But anyway, I don't know. I hope some of that makes sense. I've talked now for a long time, and you've had to listen to my loudness. So I'm going to turn it back over to Ryan. And Ryan, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Oh, you can listen to my softness. No, Joe did the loudness, I did the softness. No, I mean, I don't think I think yeah, I don't have anything to add. I hope that between Joe and I, some of that was helpful. And again, it's we don't know exactly what's going on in the relationships, so all we can do is throw possibilities and ideas at it. And so there's a plethora of information there. I would recommend to honestly go back and listen to both of our parts again, because there was so much there to unpack, and there's a lot of um, not just ideas, but also psychological things to be conscious of between you and the other person that we sort of covered, and you can start to notice those subconscious traits about yourself or about the other person, and work with that as well. Uh, there's there's a lot of different things, and um, there's no one answer, no just one set answer. And in a romantic relationship is not one where you can just we talked about manipulation in a very short period of time, and romantic relationships aren't necessarily one where you can read a book and be like, just follow every step and along the way and you'll have a successful romantic relationship. It's just not the case. You're dealing with a human being, and you're dealing with yourself, and both of those things are incredibly variable and incredibly complex,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not going to get it's not going to be a perfect relationship if you just go, did you try buying her flowers? And did you try uh, you know, or him, whatever, did you try buying him a car? Did you try opening the door for them or pulling out a chair? And just like these are things, yeah, sure, they're great. But it doesn't help you in your situation. So again, I think it's important to dive into the psychological spheres if you can, to whatever capacity you can. And I guess that's not always easy, but if you can do that, you can at least pinpoint some of the problems, start answering the questions for yourself. And so hopefully we've laid out enough of those to maybe construct something with. Um, that way you can, yeah, navigate your relationship better on a level of more understanding, maybe where they're coming from and why they're acting the way that they're acting, or possibly even where you're coming from and why you're acting the way you are acting.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times that's where we need to go. And I'll tell you, there are many times where a relationship has to fall apart. Sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there has to be a time where it just is hard,
Mm-hmm.
or where there's an honest problem between you two, and you guys are communicating about it. And I'll tell you that in a good relationship, when that fall comes back together, and this happens in friendships even as well, but the wealth of love, the deepness of the well of love just gets deeper, and all of a sudden it's like I didn't know I could love more, but I recognize now that there is more love that I can give, and I didn't realize that that was possible. And it's not like, oh, I could be doing more. It's more like your love tank grows. It's more like your capacity to love and your understanding of love grows, and that's a beautiful thing. But it takes trouble, because love takes sacrifice. And I know you're saying you already sacrifice a lot, and that's why, that's what's being taken for granted. But it just takes, my point is, sacrifice is painful. And sometimes it takes the pain of love to start to understand the true greatness of it. And so it's hard and it's scary, but sometimes you got to take that dive, and don't be afraid to do so. So open up that communication line with them if you haven't already. Feel free to try a few things out. Feel free, you know, um, because if it's worth it, it's worth it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the test of love, anyways. So, anyways, um, yeah, that's what I've got, and I'll end there.
You're awesome, Ryan. I love you.
You're awesome. I love you too, man.
Mm-hmm. But I'll just end where I began. Get out.
Yeah. No, honestly, Joe is saying something like, if you pull back, you know, and then I was like, yeah, if you pull back on something, if you just don't do what you're expected to do, again, it's fine. You don't have to live up to their expectations. They're your romantic partner. It shouldn't be that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if they're expecting you to do something, you don't do it. And it's, Yansai also said something about that, and you can feel free to read the chat. But if their response is like, well, now I don't know if I can trust you or not, If
Mm-hmm.
that's their response, don't try to defend yourself. Get out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I know that's harsh, and I know that sentiment takes a lot of that response of get out needs a lot of explanation. But just I'm sparing you the time by instead of explaining it all and recognizing it's already 19 minutes past our end time.
Mm-hmm.
You can calculate those things in your head and recognize like if their response to you pulling back about something they expect you to do and you don't do it and they get upset about it, now that's a problem. And then if they say like I don't know if I can trust you, they're clearly trying to be manipulative.
Mm.
They're clearly trying to get you to do the things that they expect you to do, and they're clearly upset and are in a weird part in the relationship where they feel like they can't trust you because you didn't do something they expected you to do. Like that's a response you will get from some people in this world,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not an okay response. That's a response of like, oh, we're not in the kind of relationship I thought we were in, and that
Mm-hmm.
means that this is not a romantic relationship and I should get out,
Mm-hmm.
basically. If that's understandable.
Yep,
I
and
hope
that
that
can
it
be
is.
hard. It can be hard
Mm-hmm.
to swallow that pill.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm sorry. Random. I do want to bring to light some of the things that Random put in the chat. Joe and Ryan, I'd like to mention that someone can think they're well-meaning, but their actions can be harmfully manipulative or possibly abusive.
Oh, for sure.
Continuing on what I previously said, those people can be internally insecure or contorted, and such actions thus become natural to them. I mention this
Mm-hmm.
because
That's
these
true.
kinds of people don't take you for granted and can be quite friendly and caring at first, but they can still do damage. Please watch out for these kinds of people. Everyone, stay safe out there. Um, yeah, there are
Mm-hmm.
abusive people. There are abusive people out there that want a relationship with someone so they can use them for their own ends.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's just feeling good about themselves.
It's true. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that all of us can do that. I know that I did that one time, and I recognized it, and I fixed it before I actually got into the relationship. Never actually got into that relationship in the first place, but when I noticed it was a part of my thinking, I was like, oh, that's why I'm depressed. I need to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And so it's possible for anybody to fall in that position. So we have to
Mm-hmm.
be wary.
Yep. And I am going to turn it back on you a little bit, Anonymous, and I'm going to say, okay, if this person taking you for granted, well, let me rephrase this a different way. So, if your life and well-being and everything depends on this person not taking you for granted, then you might need to start to rethink in your brain, why am I dependent on this person?
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said about, earlier, like it's not my job to make anybody happy. Happiness is an inside job. Like, and my happiness cannot be dependent on other people,
Right.
right? My happiness, my sense of fulfillment, it can't be rooted in another person because I mean, I can be thankful, I can be grateful, I can be so amazed at the gift of this person. They're willing to be a part of my life. They're willing to be a friend to me, to be in a relationship with me, whatever. That's a gift. It's beautiful, right? You're thinking, Joe, you are being so sarcastic right now.
No, no,
But no,
yeah.
it's real, right? And but anytime we feel like we're dependent on that person for our happiness and well-being, our priorities are off track. We need to, instead of looking at them as a need, we need to look at them as a gift.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if we can give ourselves as a gift to them, we don't give ourselves as a gift to get something in return. Does that make sense? If we
Mm-hmm.
try to do all these things because we want a certain response from them, now some of that's kind of normal and natural. Like we do the dishes, we want somebody to be, thankful and appreciative of it, and that feels good, right? But what if you do the dishes and they don't even notice?
Does that ruin your day?
Right.
It shouldn't.
If
You
it does ruin your day, then you need to rethink, okay, sometimes we give a gift and it goes unrecognized, and that's okay. We still
But it's
gave the
still a
gift.
gift.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a very good thing.
We did a good thing there. And we can feel fulfilled in ourselves for doing that, regardless of their response. Because sometimes people, man, I'll tell you what, there can be some doggone hurtful responses to gifts. I've experienced some where I've given somebody a gift and they just, looked right at me, flung it, whatever. Like, ooh, that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
hurtful, right? Kind of stabs you right in the chest a little bit. But it happens. And sometimes people are just in a spot where they're in a funk and they don't know how to appreciate things. It happens to all of us. We all go through phases.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But yeah, you can try
Mm-hmm.
those things, but you know, Anonymous, don't feel like you need this relationship in order to be well in your life or in order to have a good life or whatever. Don't feel the need for it. But if you can look at it as a gift and you can look at it as something that's beautiful that you've been given, and this time, however long you spend together, however long you have spent together, was a gift and is a gift, and you can detach yourself from the need for them, that will end up in a lot healthier situation for you as well. And then being taken for granted, sometimes you just learn to be like, well, okay, they're going to take me for granted. And, if I'm starting to feel that way, maybe I need to shake things up. Maybe I need to be a little spontaneous. Maybe I need to do something a little different. Maybe I need to get a haircut.
Get a new job.
Yeah. Get it together like your big brother Bob. Right.
How many songs is that?
I don't know. Yeah. So, yep. Relationships are interesting. I tell you what, romance is weird. Makes our hearts beat faster. It does all kinds of weird stuff to us.
Mm-hmm.
But, hey, it's part of life.
Right.
And you can make it, Anonymous. You can do it. Whatever it is you need to do, you can.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And you can reach out on Discord if you want. I would reach out to Ryan. He'll be much nicer.
I'll do my best. That's
You know what I'm going to
static
say.
dash B number 4545.
Yeah. Mine is
I don't know why I sounded southern when I said
pleb
that.
6992. Pleb. Yes. But anyway, thank you, Anonymous. Thank you for the topic. You're amazing. And I'm sorry that you're feeling taken for granted, but hopefully what we've said can provoke some thought, maybe provoke some ideas, and maybe it can get back on track, or maybe it can, maybe the relationship you're really supposed to be in is the next one.
Hmm?
You never know. You
You
never know. So the world's crazy. It changes all a ton without us even giving it our permission, you know? So, but you can make it. So, Joe, no, what? No, what?
I don't know.
What? I'm
I don't know.
sorry.
I don't.
Whatever it was, I'm
Context.
sorry.
We're sorry. Sure, we did something
Again,
wrong.
we're not professionals. We're not professional
That's
therapists.
right.
We're not psychologists, psychiatrists, anything like that. We just want to, share, do our best to help, and if something we can say is helpful, don't say bad stuff about yourself. Oh
Oh
man,
yeah,
I'm
that's right.
I'm a pro at that. That's one of the things I'm good at.
You get paid to do that?
Huh?
Are you get paid? Do you get paid to do that?
What? Say bad stuff about myself?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it makes me do more work. Well, I
Oh, okay.
guess.
Then I guess you're a pro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
It's perfect. Yes, pleb is my real username. That's what it is. But anyway, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. We have gone over by like a half an hour.
Yeah.
And we only did 2 topics. Holy cow. Apparently we had a lot to say. Um,
Yeah. Oh well.
Vivi, I got your topic and it's wonderful. I hope you come back because I really want to do your topic. And you said on here you want to be present when we cover your topic. So I would love to
Are
do
there
your topic.
new? Are there new Don't Worry Wednesday hours? I don't know what time zone you're in. We start at 8 p.m. Eastern
Yep.
on Wednesday.
Yep.
Um, and I don't know what time that is in your time zone, but I'll say it again. It's 8 p.m. Eastern. You can
Mm-hmm.
do the or another way to say it is 2.5 hours ago we started.
Yeah.
And we start that time every Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I don't know if that's new hours for you or not, but yeah, because we
That's
have
what
done
sounds good.
various times. But oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna add it to your oh my gosh, I'm so flattered. You're gonna add it to your
That'd be
calendar. You're
awesome.
awesome.
Vivi, I love you. You're awesome. Thank you.
Yes. And science, you
It'd be
say
great
you
to have
might
you here.
submit
You
a
have a lot
topic.
of really helpful things to say.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Um,
Yeah, unless it's Thursday for you, that's right. Which it is
you
for a
got a
lot
lot of
of you guys.
science. You have a lot of pent up feelings and confusion regarding a relationship. Oh boy, I can see a doozy coming.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Actually,
You
I
get
guess
to
it's something we
experience
can talk about.
Angry Joe. What's that?
Oh, I was gonna say, you're technically free. Like you don't have a job that is demanding of you of specific times now,
Who, me?
for the most part. Mm-hmm. So we could technically now do this show at a time if we thought there was a better time, but we can
Yeah,
talk about that in the
we can do
future.
it as long as we want. We can stay here for 17
Mm-hmm.
hours. If well, no, actually, we can't. I've got too much to do. I can't stay here that long.
It's 24-hour live stream. You guys
Sorry.
want to do 25-hour live stream impromptu? Joe was talking about being spontaneous. Shake it up, you know.
Hmm.
Do we have a romantic relationship with these people? I can't remember. Um.
I have no romantic relationship with anybody right now.
Oh, I've got a
It's
romantic relationship
wonderful.
with one of them, so I guess
Well,
that's my deal.
you go, you and your romantic person.
Yeah. And for the sake of that, I won't do a 24 hours live stream. 24-hour live stream in the making. That's right.
Oh man, we're just gonna keep going here. Let's just
Yeah,
do
here we
it.
go.
I mean, I gotta
All
go
right.
pee, but I can hold it for 24 hours.
Yeah, you just go be where you are, man.
Yeah, why not?
Hey,
Pee where you
that's
wanna.
yeah. What do they say? Set yourself on fire, the show or the world will come to watch.
Yeah, pee all over yourself,
Pee your
and
pants.
people will just
Yeah, how is he supposed to
just
put the fire out?
just wear a diaper.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Great
Adult
idea.
diapers.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us on Don't Worry Wednesday. It was great to see there's a few of you who haven't been here for a while, so it's great to see you come back. All you guys that are lurking, we love you too. Thanks for being here and listening to us while you lurk. You're always welcome to join the conversation in the chat at any time, but do not ever feel like you have to. We love you right where you are. And so, again, this Don't Worry Wednesday. We do it Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time, depending on what it is. Right now, it's
Depending on what it
standard.
is. Yeah.
Eastern Standard Time right now. So yeah, we'll be here, and we hope you will join us next week. Do you have something to say?
Hero.
Oh,
No, I just saw Hero in the chat and I got excited.
right on.
All right. Have a good night, you
Yes.
guys.
Thank you guys for being here. We will see you next time on Don't Worry Wednesday. And go to don'tworrywednesday.com if you have a topic to submit. You guys are great. We love you. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Love you guys.